Different municipalities have different laws. So if you are coming from Cape Town or if you are coming from KZN, only to find out that residential zoning 3 was possible in that area, it does not necessarily mean that it will also be relevant in Johannesburg.
So they are thinking that if I buy the property, it's mine, I can do whatever I want to do on the property. The property is never really yours until you go to the council and you ask them, can you actually do this? And they say that no, you can't.
3, 2, 1, and we
are live. Hello everybody, welcome to my office. Today we're actually speaking about developments. So now a lot of people are asking us, do you want to develop or should I develop a property, number one, or should I just buy a property that's already existing? Now give us the lowdown, man.
This is really an exciting topic to have because, man, we've had the privilege to discuss with international clients. And you get to really understand, not that I'm bragging, this is us bragging for everyone who lives in South Africa, right? South Africa has land. You'll be shocked that with other countries, when it comes to land, that land is not even an option. So this is one of the things that we really take for granted until you get to speak with someone, they'll be like, yo buddy, yo gents, what's up? We heard that you guys are talking about land there. And then that's when we really
understand UK's accent and
yeah, so we've actually realized that with our connections with people out of the country that have been looking at South Africa, and then now there's land, right? So now people are really asking that what should be our approach when it comes to land? Is it the same approach when it comes to buying a property that, yes, if I just love the land or if it's a new development, I just go into it? What should I be really looking at? That is what we are discussing today. Property investing, focusing on bring back the land.
So now we're always speaking about numbers, right?
Yeah.
Just as a startup, right? Always know that be it that you're buying land or you're buying normal property, the number one thing that will make sense to me as a property investor is numbers. If I'm buying a property or I'm buying a land and I'm going to build on that particular land and the numbers don't make sense, then it doesn't make sense why I should actually purchase that land. So for me, I'm not emotional. I'm just focused on my numbers. I just need to be able to tell you that is it a 15% or 20%.
Yeah. Another way that we really get it wrong when it comes to buying land and we're not getting our numbers straight is that I have this thing in mind whereby I want to build something that is out of this world. So already I know that South Africa has a problem when it comes to electricity. So what I'm then saying is that I'm going to build in soil.
The electricity issue.
I mean, we just hoping that it mustn't go any second. So what I'm saying is that sometimes you find developers or somebody who bought the land and they're saying that they want to build something that's really nice, something that's not out there.
Yeah.
So now you find out that they are saying that we're going to put a solar in and we're also going to put a Jojo tank so that we can totally be off. But then now you really get to understand the magnitude of the investment side to it. Yes, it does make your property look nice when you have solar. But now the real question again is that when it comes to the return on investment, if you were specifically looking at my income versus my expenses, will it still make sense? Because if I took it as a loan, let's say I'm taking everything as a loan and I'm building this beautiful city. However, at the end of every month, I'm not getting the money to service this loan. And then now that's why we're saying that we need to be very strategic when it comes to property investing in a sense whereby if I'm going to be understanding all of these costs that I'll be incurring before I even buy, make sense of that, and also the rental income. Because now we become emotionally attached to that, I want to build a city. And now with me building a city, I'm going to charge ridiculous prices. Now let's go back. Who really has control over the market? The people that have control over the market is the people that are willing to rent. So if people saying that, we get your beautiful city level, we get your solars and all of that, but we don't want to pay 8,000 for that. Now you become you find yourself in a problem because now you then contemplate that should I decrease it or should I hold on to this price? And we did actually have a discussion with someone who has had an apartment that is vacant for a year. So they haven't had anybody renting in there. Why was the cause? It's because the rent was unrealistic to what's happening in the market. Yeah. So again, you can build your own city. But now if people are not willing to pay that rent, it's a big problem when it comes to land.
Yeah, I mean, with tenants, right? Tenants are really smart, guys. That's something that I want to put forward. Tenants are really smart, and it's hard for you to actually scam a tenant. So what a typical tenant would do is that they would want to understand that what is the cost of me renting. Now I understand that my rent that you're saying that I need to pay you is 6,000 on a monthly basis. But now what are the add-ons that I also need to pay? So now they'll also consider electricity, that okay, paying electricity I'd need to pay around 2,000 on a monthly basis. Water, if I need to pay 1,000 on a monthly basis. This means that at this point it's going to take me around 8,000 to be living in this property. Or is it 9,000? It's 9,000. It's going to take me 9,000 to be living in this property. Now, if I'm going to be adding on and saying that I still need to pay X amount, I still need to pay this because now these are the new things that you implemented within your particular property, then it's something that I really need to reconsider if I'm going to be living in this property. Oh, the good stuff, man. I've been saying the good stuff. Give us the good stuff. Rezoning. What is to rezone a property or a land?
So when it comes to rezoning, right, we're talking about the classification. And now when you're speaking about classification, we are saying that what can I use this land for? So a lot of the time, most of the time, what happens is that we'd buy land and then we'd say that, okay, what do I want to do with it? And then now only to find out that the municipal doesn't allow that in that area. Can you imagine you took out that 150,000 to buy the land with something that you had in mind that this is what I'd like to do with this land, only to find out that it's not permitted? So what we really need to do is that we need to understand, even with the different municipalities have different laws. So if you are coming from Cape Town or if you are coming from KZN, only to find out that residential zoning 3 was possible in that area, it does not necessarily mean that it will also be relevant in Johannesburg. So we really need to understand that when it comes to the municipality, what does the municipality enable and what doesn't it enable?
No, you spoke about something, right? You spoke about the first one, starting by understanding what you want to do on the land. Now, this is a very important point, I feel like, because now what a lot of people do is that they see past that. They are thinking that if I buy the property, it's mine, I can do whatever I want to do on the property. The property is never really yours until you go to the council and you ask them, can you actually do this? And they say that, no, you can't. Now, the reason why they might say, no, you can't, is because of some regulations. I mean, say, for instance, if you're looking at a township and you want to build this huge mall within that township, right? Not on the main roads. So within. Now, the question would then be that the traffic coming to and from that particular property, it's going to be a whole mess. So now that's why there's councils that really understand or want to know that what do you want to build.
Yeah. Right. No, you know, it's crazy with what you just said, man, because I didn't ask myself this question until we were having a meeting. We went to go view that the commercial space, right? And then we were having a conversation with a guy, and then he was like, guys, think about it. In your area where you're living, you won't see an industrial.
Yeah.
You won't see an industrial because now imagine you are living here and then there's these heavy trucks coming in and out the whole time. It really doesn't make sense. So that's the importance of town planning again. And to me, that's when I was like, oh, I was just living and I loved where I live. And I didn't really think about what is happening in terms of where I'm living, especially with what you're saying. Because imagine, you know us with the funerals, bro. Imagine I'm having a funeral by the house, and then we open a stretch tent there, and then those industrial trucks can't pass. So to me, it really made sense when we were having that discussion with that guy that, oh, there's a lot that is really put behind this.
Yeah. Now, can you please then dissect, right, the 3 classifications of, because I heard you speaking about classifications earlier on.
Yeah.
Please tell us, what are the 3 classifications?
So with the classifications, we have 3 in particular, the ones that we'll be focusing on today, which is the normal residential, and then we have your commercial, which is otherwise known as business, and then we have industrial. So that's what we'll be exploring today and looking at what does that mean for you as a buyer. So before we even get there, Lebo, I'd like to hear your thoughts about, actually, I'd just like to maybe provide a point and then also hear what you think about this, right?
Okay.
Subdivision. That's a beautiful one. Subdivision, we're speaking about buying land, somebody purchased, so you got somebody who's mashashaya. They got you. So they were like, you know what, this land, man, it's a beautiful land, and what you can do further is that you can subdivide it. Did you know that subdivision is not always guaranteed when it comes to you doing that purchase. Because now, look at it also this way. Imagine if we could all just subdivide however we wanted to. So I bought a land of, let's say 800 meters squared. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep 600 meters squared and then the other 400.
Yeah.
No, it's 800, right?
Yeah.
It's 600 and then 200.
Yeah.
So the other 200, I'll see if I can sell it.
Yeah.
It does not make sense. That's why even when you're looking at each and every neighborhood, I'm not saying that they're the same size. However, there's that thing going on. They're more or less
the same, yeah.
You can see that I've never been to all locations, so I don't want to put my name towards this. Because sometimes you'll never know, bro. You'll never know. Sometimes you're seeing some funny stuff there. But what I'm saying is that with most municipalities, it's regulated in that sense whereby there's the maximum, there's the minimum that can be subdivided. So here's the thing. Sometimes somebody can sell something to you and say that you can subdivide it and sell it separately, only to find out that they knew from the onset, hence they were selling it as a whole. So what are your thoughts about subdividing, especially for our viewers there?
I mean, this is something that's really tough, because this is the we have first-hand experience on this one, whereby we bought a property in Brixton, and now there was that whole subdivision thing. So now, in some areas, I mean, if you know Johannesburg, right? You might, if you know in Soweto, there's your what's that? White City, right? There's White City, and then in towards Brixton, you know that there's that Brixton whereby there are properties whereby they are subdivided, right? So it's two houses. You could see that these were two houses. However, they just put a wall between the two, and then there's the A and there's the B. Now, here's the hard part about it. Whenever you see A and B, understand that it's not the same as, let's say we have a house number 7690, right? So there's 7690 and then there's 7691, right? So 7690, if it's divided and it's A and B, and then the second one, it's just 7691, right? Understand that those two properties are not going to go or sell the same, right? Because this one, it's selling as separate units. Now, if it's selling as separate units, you probably need to buy it lower. Now, here's the thing. Estate agents would say that, no, your neighbor, the next door neighbor, we sold their property for 1.5 million.
That's now, what happened. That's what happened to us.
It happened to us.
That was painful.
It's tough. Now, the agent will say that I sold your next door neighbor's property at 1.4 million. So yours is selling at 700,000.
Yeah.
Now you might think that, I'm getting such a low discount, right? However, this property has been subdivided, whereby when you're looking at that house, the whole property, it's 1.2 thousand square meters. But when you're looking at that one, it's around 700 square meters. Now, looking at that particular situation, they got you behind the ear, man. They got you behind the ear because now you're in a situation whereby you have this property. You might have overpaid for the property. However, it doesn't really make financial sense when you do go to resell the property.
Yeah, but I guess then again, we're not saying that you shouldn't buy a property that's not subdivided, or we're not saying that do not subdivide. It's more of being fully aware that when you're going into a deal, that yes, it makes sense when it comes to the revenue that I'm collecting, and hence I am buying it. So that's what we're just saying, that let us rather be more aware that when it comes to subdividing, number one, it's not guaranteed. Number two, even when I do subdivide or when I'm buying a subdivided property, do the numbers make sense or not? Looking at residentials, we're looking at 4 types of residentials. And now here's the interesting part when it comes to residentials and zoning, right? Is that most of the time, as I did mention, that one community, one municipality will be different from the other. So there's something called floor area ratio. And what they're simply saying is that it needs the coverage of your building needs to then be 40%. The coverage of your building needs to be then 40%.
So if your property is 1,000 meters squared, you only have to build for 40%. The land is with the land is sitting on the land is 1,000 square meters. So now that means that you can only cover 40% with your property. So that means that you can only build the property around 400 meters squared.
Around 400. Perfect. Okay. That was the question that I was going to ask our viewers, but it's okay. It's okay, Level got it. Here's another thing that you might also want to take into consideration, because here's a conversation that I was having with our project manager, because we're assisting one of our clients with building something, is that we always need to be aware that it's advisable that we build 1 meter away from the walls. So let's say we're looking at left 1 meter, at the back 1. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this. Please just give me a thumbs up.
No,
Right,
I'm seeing it.
1 meter.
I'm seeing it.
From the gate, it's 1 meter. Because most of the time, what happens is that if you just go to this, we just buy this land that's about 1,000 meters squared, and then we build on top of it, and then we only say that, hey guys, how about I just build on top of it? This is where a lot of people find themselves in the township. Going to number 2, then number 2 only allows us to have from 10 to 20 dwellers. Why am I saying that we really need to understand these different residential zonings? You find out that in a municipality that you purchase the property, they only allow up to residential 2, which is maximum of 20 dwellers. Whereas residential 3 allows you now to have 21 to 40 dwellers. Can you see now where the problem is? Because now when we were running numbers and we were making sure that by the time we get to 30, we know that we'll be making a profit. However, now when we're looking at this municipal with their laws, they're saying that maximum is 20. So it's already a big problem now when it comes to rezoning this land.
Some properties, they won't make a profit if you only have 5 units.
Yeah.
However, once you start tipping over the 5 units, that's when you start having more profit. I'll give you an example. For example, like student accommodation. With student accommodation, if you only can put in 1 student in your property, chances are you're going to be making a loss. However, the more numbers you have in that particular property, the more numbers of people or students that you can have in this particular property, that's when you start making good business, right?
Yeah.
So now this particular residential 1, 2, 3, it's really important for someone to really understand before they actually purchase that property.
Yeah.
Now we haven't actually purchased anything. We haven't signed any offer to purchase. We haven't actually done anything. We are just speaking about residential 1, 2, and 3. Now you can only understand that if you had already purchased residential, say for instance you purchased the property and you can only build what? You only left on residential 1 and you can't actually build until 10 units. Now the problem becomes that how will your numbers actually make sense? They won't make sense.
So I'm not sure if you'll be looking at it with which lens. South Africa, again, with the conversation that we've been having with the guys overseas, is that overseas they don't play. Overseas they really don't play, man. You come, you build what you want to, they permit you, man. You'll be fined, heavily so. But now when it comes to South Africa, is that we do not necessarily understand what are the implications that, man, I've worked hard, I've worked for 40 years, I'm about to retire at 65, and then I'll be getting 2 million. This is where my heart really sinks, is that we get clients that are about 60 years, and then they with their retirement fund, they just built about 40 units. Now, only to realize that it wasn't permitted. So now, looking at it, yes, we've got the building, nobody stopped us, we did what we wanted. Now, where does it catch up with us again? It catches up with us now when it's time to sell. So when it's time to sell, I'm going to list it on Property 24 with an agent, and then now the bank is going to come through. This is why sometimes you see a situation whereby they say cash buyers only. Sometimes now the bank will be saying that, you know what, I don't want to be involved in this too much because what? I'm exposing myself as the bank. So what do they mean that they're exposing themselves? In a market whereby properties are selling for about 400,000 to 500,000, your one is going for about 8.5 million. That's where it becomes a problem. So imagine now the hard money that you've been working for all these years. Yes, you invested it in this property. Generational wealth was in the mindset, but now the problem was approach. The problem was approach.